Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex. Welcome back to Big Baby Reviews. Today is Larsen Saturday, so we're going to be looking at the next issue in my collection created by Erik Larsen, and that is Spider-Man number 18. This is just following McFarlane's last issue, which was issue 16. There was some sort of fill-in for 17. Larsen had actually filled in on issue 15, which I reviewed last week. And now we get to this, which is kind of his swan song and what he created for Marvel before he left to do the Savage Dragon. I actually discovered Erik Larsen with the Savage Dragon, not with Spider-Man, but I did go back and get these issues because they look so freaking awesome. And they are. So if you're into Savage Dragon, you've never checked these out, definitely do that. They were, I feel, drawn, written, inked in and around the same time. I feel like there was a bit of crossover where, you know, Larsen was probably working on some of this and the first few issues of Savage Dragon. A lot of the creative team is the same too, so you get a lot of that same vibe here. Maybe just a little bit more restrained and held back for this 6-part miniseries, and then kind of goes full bore with Savage Dragon. No more restrictions, no more handcuffs, and goes crazy extreme, right? So cover dated January 1991. So this is a year after everything we've seen with when I talked about on the Rob Liefeld episode this week. The beginning, January 1990, boom, Todd McFarlane, boom, Rob Liefeld. And now here, a year later, we're in full swing. McFarlane may be gone, Liefeld's still around, and Larsen's kicking ass on Spider-Man. Great cover. You know, Larsen definitely following a bit of McFarlane's lead, but moving in his own direction where the anatomy I find is just a lot more solid than McFarlane's. So what is he using for McFarlane? The big eyes, which he does round off, okay, which I find a little bit better. And the just lots more webbing on the actual costume as opposed to the classic look of Spider-Man. And of course, you know, if you're going to have a guest star on the cover in the comic, you're going to put him on the cover as well. And we got Ghost Rider here. And again, he's one of the only artists I've seen who follows kind of that McFarlane thing. What McFarlane did is, you know, he left the pupils in, right? And Larsen's doing that same thing. I don't know if it's Larsen following McFarlane and thinking I gotta, you know, incorporate those because the kids love it, or if he just thinks it's clever and he's like, yeah, you know, I'll do that too. I think it looks pretty cool. Whatever it is, I do think it looks cool with Ghost Rider and just makes their version a little more different, distinct, and I have no problems with it. I think it looks pretty cool. So let's crack her open, see what's going on there. All right, so credits. Erik Larsen, pictures and words. So obviously he does all the art, penciling and inking. I feel like this was almost cut out and stuck on there. I feel like maybe, you know, when they cut here, there's just a little bit too much that was cut off. I could be wrong. Rick Parker, lettering. Gregory Wright, coloring. And that's where we're going to stop. This character here, okay, it's been talked about, if you don't know, originally was supposed to basically be Super Patriot, who's a character who eventually was introduced in the Savage Dragon and through his own miniseries at Image Comics. A great, those first 2 miniseries were awesome, drawn by Dave Johnson. So basically Erik Larsen just kind of redesigned and I don't know if he had to actually redraw stuff in this comic, if he had already drawn it, but he just kind of changed the design somewhat so that it wasn't Super Patriot anymore. He decided, you know, I'll save this design for something else at some point. And it came in handy when he started his own series at Marvel. I talked about it with McFarlane doing it in last episode, the Kirby trope of the splash and the double splash, which I think is awesome. And I just mentioned it because I do it too, because I think it's so great. And it really helps kind of set a mood with a comic and throw you right in the middle of the action. That's kind of the idea, right? Which this comic does. Again, we get some great Erik Larsen, you know, crazy perspective in the action itself and also with the background here, right? If you're really paying attention, it's like, man, you got a lot of detail here and you got them all done pretty efficiently, but I'm sure this took a lot of time and it really kind of sets the scene, right? To have to draw all these little characters and everything down there that are, you know, wounded and running away. Those are the parts are maybe less interesting, but really help to set the scene, right? So then we've got the Ghost Rider here, Spider-Man attacking this guy. I forget his name. It's not that important. I don't think they even know it at this point. I like this little effect, kind of Kirby crackle within Ghost Rider's mouth. I do notice Larsen gives him like quite the fangs as well, which maybe is a little bit different. I don't think McFarlane did that specifically. I could be wrong. And you see the pupils here, right? The red pupils. That is definitely lifted from McFarlane when he did, I think it was issue 6 and 7 of Spider-Man. even back here, just this small little Spider-Man that he's drawn is just, I think, just so awesome, right? The anatomy, the exaggerated pose and stuff, but that still works because, again, he's got a solid grasp on the human body and how to draw it in different positions. Like even this, look at that extreme, but it works, right? It just, to me, it works. It always works, as opposed to McFarlane, where sometimes you're like, yeah, you like the drawing, it's cool, but there's something a little bit off. I mean, even this, I don't think any character could twist their hips in that direction and get that kind of Jean-Claude Van Damme split. But, you know, again, I just said Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he can do it. So why not Spider-Man? Great shot here. Great use of, you know, this as kind of a lighting effect, right? More silhouette kind of, you know, not a lot of detail. Probably get through this drawing fairly quickly. And storytelling-wise, it is super effective. Like I said, even some of these drawings where it seems to have been drawn pretty quickly. Like this almost, to me, in a weird way, feels like Simon Bisley or something. Just this one here. Like he's just ripping and roaring and drawn really fast. You know, and then you get all the great kind of Kirby-inspired spectacle, right? Above the city. Perspective, looking down, right? Tons of foreshortening everywhere. Building vertically to the right. Storytelling, you know, as exciting and as crazy as it gets and the different angles, storytelling is still very clear. Like how long did it take him to draw this face here, right? And not that it's bad or anything. It's definitely not what I'm saying, but man, economy of line here, right? That's something I respect Larsen for, because his comics always look awesome, but again, from that point of view of actually drawing them, he just has a clean, economical style that, you know, I feel like he gets through a bunch of pages pretty quickly, which is a good thing when you're a working professional. Something odd going on here, right? I think he used some sort of screen tone or something, but maybe it was a little too dark, or the color they chose behind it was too dark. It's not so bad up here where we see his face and his upper body and stuff, but down here you really lose pretty much his whole forearm and hand here. You can kind of see the silhouette of the hand, but just you lose the arm here. Very, very strange choice. I don't know what happened here. Not horrible, but, you know, just something where I go, what happened there? And Larsen just has that way of like, hey, let's establish, and boom, right into the action, right? He's not messing around. Get a nice cool shot of Dr. Octopus here, right? Just the bare minimum of lines, just what's needed, right? And I really respect his economy of line. I mean, he's still producing today, right? And his style has probably changed a little bit from this, but similar in its finish and how it looks, right? So I feel like he's still got that quick touch, which helps to make his, you know, most of his comics and the artwork look more dynamic, like here, right? He's just graded all that. These fingers, how quickly did he draw that, right? But all these textures just make sense. Very good at all those various textures. And again, still using the screen tone here to better effect than earlier. Like, look at this extreme kind of foreshortening here. How well it's done. All these lines here, if you pay attention, right? Usually these lines kind of merge to vanishing point somewhere outside here. Up here, they're going to a completely... It's like he kind of did the section down here, meh, you know, just about. And then for some reason the angle changed much more when he was drawing it, and he just kept going. And you know what? It doesn't matter. You really don't see it unless you really pay attention. And the idea of the movement stuff, the dynamics, work 100% and don't confuse you. Unless you stop and kind of look at it, you'll never notice that. So it's the kind of stuff, you know, I think about when I create my comics, and like, is it really that important that I'm that consistent for these kind of things? It's what I'm slowly learning as I move ahead, right? How sometimes it's just more effective to do a splotch, right? Like this is just, right? Done quickly, energetically. You're trying to get as much energy and movement on the page as you can because it's a still image. There is no actual movement. You're creating the illusion of movement. Whether a small movement or whether a big movement, like in most of these, obviously, superhero comics. Always like how just a great use of the tentacles to create that depth, right? There's some are closer, some are further behind him, some are just where he is. So right away you get those three basic foreground, middle ground, background planes, right? So we get a bit of the romance storyline pages, right? These are kind of just the conversational pages, the soap opera pages, I guess you can call them. Crazy screen tone. Erik Larsen's pulling out here. You know, and kind of the way he bookended things here, right? Where like this is pretty much a mirror image of this, where everything's flipped, right? She's coming in, she's leaving. He's on her right, over here he's on the left, right? Again, makes sense with what we know about reading direction. So here we're introduced to more of the baddies. Love these textures on his hair, even these, you know, simple kind of lines for the wood here. On the bottom here as well, surrounding, like, love this. Not something I kind of typically associate as a line for Larsen, but I find it really works well here. Love this shot of Spider-Man just because, you know, it could have been just the fact that he flipped it completely upside down makes it even cooler, I think, right? I'm sure, you know, if I flip it around and we look at it, yeah, it looks pretty cool like that, right? But the fact that it's upside down like that, again, just works with Spider-Man's character, his kind of acrobatics and out of control, you know, flexibility and movements in the air. It just heightens that even more. Just that clever idea of maybe he was drawing it in the other sense. And wait a minute, let me flip this. And again, the use of those directional lines to create that sense of dynamics and movement. I was never quite sure about these textures on the butt here. Like it's like, I guess it's like a light reflection. Like maybe something, I feel like this is also something Rob Liefeld took from Larsen. But yeah, it just doesn't always make sense to me. It works overall. Like it's not anything that, you know, I'm mad about, but it just looks a little odd. And of course, the 90s trope of the vertical panels, right? Not that I think there's anything bad with that, you know, they work really well here. They're always good to use when, you know, you want to establish a lot in the small space, and this is probably drawn pretty quickly. So they meet up with Dr. Octopus. Appreciate the fact that he's smoking, as no characters in Marvel Comics smoke anymore, apparently. So, not that I'm encouraging anyone out there to smoke, but just as a character trait that some people have, I think it makes sense that in comics and movies and stuff, people would be smoking. Some people, at least. And there you go. We're left on that cliffhanger until next issue. So there you have it. Part 1 of Revenge of the Sinister Six by Erik Larsen, Spider-Man issue 18. Like and subscribe if you like what you hear and see on the channel. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you next time.
Like! Subscribe! Like! Subscribe!
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13. 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.